Follow along with the live draft board tonight and watch our pick-by-pick analysis as we call the action from the 2024 Fantasy Pros Championship as 12 owners are gunning for a $1 million grand prize. Plus, one of these drafters, 8-time FFPC League winner Remy LeBeau, will join us for the entire draft and take us through his thoughts as he tries to build a $1 million winning team. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men that need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of the Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs tuning in tonight. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott. Check out his competition over at KFFSC.com. We're also joined tonight by Remy LeBeau, the 8-time FFPC League champion, who's drafting first tonight. We'll get into that shortly and tell you what's going on in the first round. Excuse me. This is a live Fantasy Pros Championship draft tonight. We'll be covering it for the entire duration. Shout out to the chat room right now, and post any questions you might have right in there. Connect with us on X at HSFF at Eric Balkman, and of course, KFFSC.com is where you can register for the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFF. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have any questions for us. Now is the time to send them in. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails throughout the broadcast. Thanks to the hard work of our producer and our mutual friend Rob, and our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce as well. Don't forget that if you want to compete against these 12 players, you can do so at myffpc.com. The Fantasy Pros Championship has drafts filling daily from morning until night. $1 million grand prize this year, just $350 to enter. And don't forget, you'll get $50 off every third team you purchase. $6 million plus prize pool. 1,000 people will get paid in this competition as well. The 2024 FFPC Best Ball and Superflex Best Ball tournaments are live as well. $35 and $125 to enter those, with $100,000 and $300,000 grand prize. And then, of course, the main event, the FFPC main event, $1 million grand prize in a near $6 million prize pool there as well. myffpc.com, myffpc.com is where to go for that, as well as the Empire Dynasty Startup Leagues and the Dynasty Startup Leagues as well, myffpc.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring him in right now. He's the 8-time FFPC League winner. You know him on the boards as his username and his team name as Remy LeBeau. Here is Gambit himself, Remy LeBeau. Remy, what's going on, man?
Doing good. How you doing, Balky?
Can't complain. Excited to have you aboard for the full 20 rounds tonight as you take us through how you're building this draft. And Remy is drafting number 1 overall today. Edgar Sanders is picking second. Joseph Gilliam, the Sky Nemesis, is picking third tonight. David and Gary Jonathan, I'm going to go with. I could be wrong on that. Could be Jonathan. I'm not sure. The Gruesome Twosome Trolls are picking fourth tonight. John Terry's Fred is picking fifth. Tommy Heron and Jeff Antley have teamed up to draft Tommy Island's team in the 6th spot. Russell Cruz drafting 7th tonight. Jake Valike, Spree at last. He's drafting 8th. Chris Schultz is picking 9th tonight. I think we're going to hear from Chris, hopefully in the program, sometime in the program tonight. We'll hear from him. Jonathan LeBeau drafting 10th tonight. Robert Morelli, the Gritty Squad, is drafting 11th. And Chris Van Sant, Stairway to Heaven, at 12th tonight. So I'll bring up the draft board here. And Remy, the first question I was going to ask you was, having the number 1 pick, do you feel pigeonholed? Do you feel like you you may not love Christian McCaffrey, but do you feel like you have to draft him? And looking at the board right now, the answer is a resounding no. You don't feel like you need to take him because you go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 1 overall, well ahead of ADP. You got your guy. Take us through the thought process there.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Ryan Noonan over at 4 for 4. I'm using his wide receiver rankings. He actually just got them to me maybe about 2 hours ago. If you don't know who he is, I suggest you look him up. He's great for his wide receiver rankings. Number one overall, actually. So basically, I went with Amon-Ra St. Mount because I wanted a wide receiver. The reason I went wide receiver is because of how the boards have been falling lately in the FFPC tournaments. As you can see, tight ends are going a lot higher. It seems like last year, quarterbacks were going around this range, if you remember correctly. Quarterbacks were going really high. This year, it's flipped. It's tight ends. So have to flip the script a little bit. Christian McCaffrey, it depends on if I wanted to start with a robust RB build or a punt RB2 build. The way the boards have been falling lately, I kind of wanted to lean towards not pigeonholing myself in this first spot. In case I want to go robust wide receiver, whoever falls here. It's kind of hard to do if you're in the middle of the rounds, 4, 5, and 6. And believe it or not, I haven't got 10, 11, or 12 yet. So I wouldn't even know how to draft from those.
From those spots. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How to attack the right side of the board. So you go, I'm on Ross St. Brown. The other, I wouldn't say there's any big surprises in the first round. I mean, CeeDee Lamb at 105 is a nice value for John Terry. But other than that, I think it was kind of I don't want to say generic first round, but a static first round here. Fireworks happened a little bit in round 2. We'll get to that in a second. But Remy, you are on the clock here at the 212 and the 301. Take us through what you're thinking here.
Well, like I said, I didn't want to pigeonhole myself for the in the first spot, and I wanted to see how the board is going to develop before I see if I'm going to go robust star wide receiver or if I'm going to do you know what? Let me pick one real quick here.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, the 101 for Remy LeBeau. He goes Chris Olave, the 12th receiver off the board tonight at the 212 to pair with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So here we go with how that's working out.
And what I'm doing now is I'm checking out the running back core to see if anything fell that I'm comfortable with taking as my running back 1 overall. I like Kerryon Williams. I like a few other running backs that aren't going to get back with me, so I can pretty much say who they are because they're not going to. But I think I'm just going to go robust wide receiver. I'm just trying to decide with the rankings that Noonan gave me. I'm not, you know, he says this guy, so I'm going to go.
There you go.
I'm going to go by his rankings. And like I said, if I just got these 2 hours ago, and thank you again, Noonan, over there at 4 for 4 for giving them to me. And I also like to give a shout out to FDN, the crew over there, Jeff Ratcliffe. If you don't know who Jeff Ratcliffe is, of course, Nelson. We are always talking on Discord.
Yep.
Yes, we're always talking to Discord over there. And another shout out to Fantasy Guru, Ray Flowers, Jeff Mans, Tyler, Rich over there. These are people that I talk to constantly over on Discord. For the people that are watching, it's really good to get into these Discord channels with these professionals like Jeff Ratcliffe, Jeff Mans, and all of them. So if you're really looking to get an edge on what's going on and really get a taste of how they conduct themselves as far as rankings and going through coaching stats, I mean, it's really good just to join one of those and get into their Discord.
Yeah, definitely check it out. That's only going to make you a better player as well. I'll tell you what else makes you a better player. I was listening to this guy right here. The Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship Commissioner at jferrellelliott on the X as well as Instagram. KFFSC.com is where to go. Welcome aboard, Commissioner Elliott.
Hey, guys, I can't leave you two alone for a minute. You went out and drafted Alma. Can't argue with it. But Balky, remind me and the other listeners what format we're in here.
This is the FantasyPros Championship, a 20-round draft that is a managed format. So you will have to submit lineups, submit waivers throughout the season for this. All of these guys are gunning for a $1 million grand prize and a $6 million prize pool here.
Mr. LeBeau, how many of these teams are you playing? I think I'm already at about 4, and I'm considering adding more. Some of you players are already at 40 and are planning on adding more. How many are you going to have?
Me, for the Fantasy Pros, I'm only going to have 20. This is going to be my sophomore year. So my freshman year was last year in the FFPC. Great system that you guys have over here. Love it.
And great success that you had in the league.
Yeah, and the first time that I was on here was actually with you and Balky. It was the first one that I had. And so since I did so well last year, I'm going to upgrade myself to the main event. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to do 5 of those in the main event.
It's natural for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my question then, with 20 teams.
Yes.
This is my only question, and I heard you talk about your wide receiver rankings. You want to start, and St. Brown. It's I feel I'm ahead of the crew when I have St. Brown, but I'm going to say that at least maybe the average 8, 9, 10 of those teams are going to be draft spot 6 and on down. Don't you think you would have got enough St. Brown? How often are you going to get that number 1 spot? It may not ever return. Do you just not like McCaffrey, or are we going to have 20 round 1 St. Browns? Is what I'm asking.
Actually, believe it or not, I've been very lucky. This is my 5th number 1 in the number 1 spot. So I've already taken McCaffrey twice.
Okay.
I've taken Bijan, I've taken CeeDee Lamb, and because I want to get a little bit more exposure to Amon-Ra St. Brown is the reason that I went with this.
You will be the only Fantasy Pros guys that says, damn it, I got another 12. I got a 1. It's well, okay. Well, good for you, man. We'll see you again.
Yeah, actually, the opposite of me. I've been getting all the 1s and 6s and 8s, and I have not gotten a 10, 11, or 12 yet. So hopefully I'll get one.
We're speaking of the 10, 11, 12. We're at the 311 right now. I do want to point out a couple of picks here, Ferrell, in the second round that we see tonight that I think stand out to me. Drake London vaults up about a half round to the 202. Robert Morelli takes him to go with Saquon Barkley there. And then this is the anti-Lions draft. Both Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta take a bit of a tumble. Gibbs falls to the 205 to Jake Valike, who grabs him there. And then Russell Cruz pairs as Jamar Chase with Sam Laporta at the 206. I don't know if this is a harbinger of things to come with Gibbs and Laporta. I do think London gets closer to that 1-2 turn as we move forward through August, though.
Well, I suppose he should. There's a lot of hope involved in that, but he is a fine player. He is a different player, and I don't think he'll ever go. Remy, would you ever draft him in front of Garrett Wilson?
Gibbs?
No, we're talking London.
London? No.
And I wouldn't draft him. I don't know if I'd draft him in front of Puka or not. It would be a coin flip for me. Balky, would you always draft him in front of Harrison?
Always is a relative term. I would say if I'm drafting one team, I am probably taking Harrison over London, right? Okay. But since I'll be drafting numerous teams, like in Kentucky, I'll probably split those pretty closely between London and Harrison of who I would take before the other one. I'm with you guys. Wilson and Nakua before London for me. But I also understand that not everybody thinks that way too. And I think that there are, especially if London gets into any preseason games or if he makes any big plays or if he's getting steamed up, if the beat writers are talking about him, then I think he's going to live in that 202, 203 area rather than the 208, 209 where he's been going. So
Balky, anyone that doesn't think like you should just keep thinking.
On to the third round. I want to go back to Remy, your pick at the 301. You take Olave at the 212. ADP wise, and by the way, whenever we talk ADP on the show, fantasymojo.com at FantasyMojo on the X. Darren Armani is not only a webmaster there, he is the Pros versus Joe's godfather. Anytime we cite ADP, it's from his website. Devonta Smith at the 301. I know you loved. I know that 4 for 4. It was Ryan Noonan. Is that who you said it was?
Yes.
Okay. I know he loves Smith. He normally goes at the 406. You're right. He wasn't coming back to you at that point, or I would assume he's not coming back to you. But is the juice worth the squeeze for Devonta Smith at the 301? Clearly you think so.
Well, if you're a firm believer in Jalen Hurts, which I am, and you really think that A.J. Brown is going to be who he is, then there's no reason that Devonta Smith, I think, looking at it, it's going to be Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. It's going to be the Seattle DK Metcalf, Lockett type of system that's going on over there. So I have no problem with it. I mean, Devonta Smith is going to be there. You also have Hill, Waddle. I mean, these are duels that are able to, stay relevant on a team for the passing.
Boy, I tell you, Balky, I love that third round. If I can find Derrick Henry in the third round, I'm the happiest Ravens supporter in the business.
Yeah, Derrick Henry goes at the 302 tonight to Mr. E. Mr. E tonight is run by Edgar Sanders. He gets Derrick Henry at the 302. ADP on him is actually the 210. So it is a little bit of a drop off here with Henry. But I think, Ferrell, there is something to be said about, like, I know he's Derrick Henry and I know what he's capable of doing. But I think in the back of some drafters' heads, it's still that age thing. And the fact that his volume has been so high over the course of, the last 3-4 years or whatever. I think that's what people are hesitating, or why they're hesitating on pulling the trigger on him.
Those are the people that wore 3 masks in 2020 when they wrote off Derrick Henry and were fighting COVID with 3 masks and a rubber suit. He's going to be fine.
He should be fine. And I do like him. I do have some healthy exposure to Derrick Henry this year as well. Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins. After that, we see Mark Andrews at the 305. Malik Neighbors rises up to the 306 tonight. His ADP in this format is normally 310, so he does go up a little bit tonight. Isaiah Pacheco goes ahead of Kyron Williams. Have not seen that in a whole lot of places, but Russell Cruz gets Isaiah Pacheco as his number 1 running back, and Kyron Williams joins Jake Valike's team to pair with Jahmyr Gibbs. That's good value. I mean, I'm not the biggest Kyron Williams guy, but man, 9 spots past ADP after you already get Jahmyr Gibbs about 6 spots past ADP. Justin Jefferson at the 108, who was a value in the first round. Jake Valike's putting together the all-value team here, Ferrell, from the 8 spot, and Jefferson, Gibbs, and Kyron Williams, and I like the team.
Oh, I like that team. Look what he's doing out there with those LA Rams who successfully know how to keep the ball in front of the chains. I can never fault, and I would never complain about a Pacheco draft right there either. Those are 2 players that I admire. Williams, it's the same hesitancy perhaps that players think of when they think of Henry. One is older and one is coming back from an injury, but I don't see anything that's going to slow down Williams. And speaking of that, Remy, did you watch the game last night?
Hold on, Ferrell, 1 second before you get into that. Remy LeBeau on the clock right now.
Remy,
at the 412 and the 501. He has started off Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, and Devonta Smith. Remy, what are you thinking with these next 2 picks here?
Well, I'm gonna go for the wheelhouse tight end. So I'm going to take one of those, which I'm kind of surprised he's still there.
George Kittle, 412 is the pick tonight from the 49ers as his first tight end. And the ninth, ninth tight end off the board here with Kittle. The second tight end to go in the 4th round behind Jake Ferguson. Kittle's ADP is normally 502. So this is about where he normally goes here in the Fantasy Pros Championship. Again, over the last 3 days. What about the second pick, Remy, as you're leading off the 5th round here?
Well, I'm going by the rankings. Got to trust the rankings.
There you go. Trusting the rankings of Brian Noonan from 4 for 4. Wide receiver 26 tonight. He is the 4th receiver drafted by Remy LeBeau. It's T. Higgins. And, I think the biggest thing with Higgins right now is, well, what was the biggest thing we talked about in the offseason? We didn't know if he was going to report. We know he's not happy with his contract. We know the Bengals don't seem very willing to pay him, but at least parties are together in camp right now. He is practicing. The Bengals are coaching him. These are all good things, and Remy might be a little bit of a value here for T. Higgins.
Yeah, he's been dropping it. I'm not sure why. There's a few things that in this draft it hasn't gone as usual. Like we were talking about London. London honestly drops to where I got Chris Olave for the past. It seems like I didn't check to see where his ADP was before he went, but I don't know if it's rising or that person just took him.
That person just loves him some London, a little London calling. I must ask you a question about Mr. Noonan. Does he have a running back rating sheet as well?
He does, but I don't follow that one. I follow a different.
Okay.
I follow a different running back rating.
We got another guy for running backs. Well, we better call that guy up because we're going to be in the 6th round here.
We're all right. I mean, we got 14 running backs off the board so far. We'll see what happens here.
I'm interested in that strategy, and I know you can't tell us now. So
well, if the strategy that I am doing, I can tell you who it comes from. And if you want to delve in deeper for the viewers.
No. I just want to know who your running backs will be. And you can't say that. So I'm just going to write down who I think they're going to be at round 6 and 7.
Right.
Gotcha.
We got what Dr. Evil say? Zip it.
Yeah, zip it. Zippity-doo-dah. www.ch.com.org.net.gov. Cooper Kupp at the 405 for Jake Valike here at the for Team 8 here. Remy, that's a player I think you're pretty high on this year. It seems like you got a lot of shares of him, right?
Amari Cooper?
No, Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, yes. I am. If it wasn't for these new rankings, I would have probably took Cooper Kupp at where I took Devontae Smith. Mm-hmm. But I'm very heavy on him, like over heavy probably. I got at least over 60% shares of him on the teams because he keeps falling to the 3rd round for whatever reason.
Right.
He's still the wide receiver 1 over there. I know Puka is great, but, he's still the number 1 wide receiver over there. So I wouldn't be he shouldn't be being faded that far.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I know age and injury. There are concerns there with that, but at the same time, 308 is where he normally goes. And once again, Jake Valike just scooping up the value here. He gets Cooper Kupp at the 405. Josh Jacobs ADP, normally the 405. Jake Valike gets him at the 508 for Josh Jacobs here tonight. So that is a massive full round plus of value. Jake Valike is shopping at the bargain bin, and he is just, I feel like if this is an episode of Storage Wars, Jake would be like just cashing in. You're like, he's the type of guy that buys a unit for like $250 and then he sells everything in it for like 10 grand. It's been great to watch him in action tonight. Ferrell, let's talk about John Terry's team from the 5 spot right now. He goes Lamb, Adams, Andrews, Pittman, Allen. So that squad right there is Sans running back as well, like Remy LeBeau's squad from the 1. He also has an elite quarterback and he has an elite tight end. We have seen this work before where you go with an elite quarterback and elite tight end early, but I don't know what the success rate is on it, and no running backs on this squad. For some reason, though, I think he knows what he's doing, and I'm kind of interested to see how he takes it after the 5th round here.
Well, he'll come on and tell us all about it in no uncertain terms that he's doing the right thing, and he's doing the right thing for him, and I like his team. That's where I really love to learn from these drafts is the guys that go no running back, what they do to compensate for that, because that's the area where we can really take something away from our own drafts. And I think that's what so intrigues me about what Remy's going to do at the 6-7 turn, because we're looking at a Terry team. I think he would respectfully go running back. I think Russell Cruz will go running back. Team 12 over here is got a variety of responsibilities. Everybody's light on running back, and then we got 2 teams with none. 3 teams with none. No, 2 teams.
We we have Remy LeBeau, we have John Terry, and we have Deuces Larry, which I believe, Deuces Larry is Chris Schultz. Does not have a running back from the 9 hole either. So, and Remy, I think the good thing for you here is, you'll be looking to fill in the cracks with running back coming up, and you look at Edgar Sanders' team next to you. He needs receivers. He already has 3 running backs, so there should be some stuff falling to you next time it comes to you here in the 6th round, my friend.
Yeah, and I was taking that in consideration with my strategy too. So it's really good to be sandwiched in there like that with somebody with a bunch of running backs.
Let's see. What do I want to talk about here in the 5th round? Yeah, we are through the 5th round here. Ferrell, Amari Cooper is a player that I don't think we've talked a whole lot about. Yeah. And I think we should, because this is a guy that has consistently outperformed his ADP the last 2 out of the last 3 years. It might have been 3 out of the last 3 years, but I know for sure the last 2 years he did. Once again, wide receiver 28 at the 504. It seems like Cleveland might be forced to throw the ball more this year. If you look at the Browns backfield, it's been like the Spinal Tap drummers lately with Nick Chubb and then Deontay Foreman. Deontay Foreman goes to the hospital. Jerome Ford was dealing with something too. But I just think that this team is kind of tailored for Deshaun Watson to let it rip this year. Cooper and Njoku, they bring in Judy. Obviously, Elijah Moore is still there. But Cooper's a guy. He's the lead dog there. He's going to get a lot of targets. I love Amari Cooper as even a number 2 receiver this year. He's drafted tonight as a mid wide receiver 3 by the gruesome twosome there. That is the Jonasons here at in the 4 spot. I love Cooper.
I think those guys made a real steal. And Remy, you can tell us with all respect to our Mr. Noonan's list, you could tell us where Cooper and Higgins lined up on that list, because I would have drafted Cooper in front of Higgins. I love Flowers, would have probably drafted Cooper in front of Flowers. I really like what these guys did. Pickens for me is a little bit of a reach, but I love the athleticism of the player. And I think this drafter might be surprised that Cooper was still there when he came back around. I wish we could talk to him. I wonder if he was thinking Cooper in the 4th. No, I'll go ahead with Pickens, and then he got a big gift in the 5th round. Just curious.
Amari Cooper ADP is 502. So this was a little bit of a value, but this is normally right where he goes. I just think he's just undervalued in general.
Yes, and I think he's going to stay that way. I would draft him in front of Diggs.
Question from the chat here, Remy. This is from our resident Italian, Dominic Guzzetti. Curious, why not take Jalen Hurts at 501 to get that stack? Not disagreeing on T. Higgins, but curious. Remy, did you consider Jalen Hurts there at all at the 501 before you took Higgins?
No, actually, I am implementing Jeff Ratcliffe's strategy. And the strategy that I am doing right now means that I have to get 3 rounds of value on a quarterback in order for me to take it. And if you want to know more about his draft strategy, it's over at FTN. It's a great strategy, and that's what I'm implementing right now is his strategy, since I was sandwiched between robust running back. So I went that route.
Right.
I'm going to say draft Will Levis in the 17th round and get you 10 rounds.
It could be.
6 rounds of value right there.
Well, I was going to target him. I'm pretty sure now somebody else is going to get him for me.
No, they've never heard of Levis until I brought him up, Remy.
We'll see.
No one. I was cat's out of the bag now. Our beloved, esteemed, and frightfully disagreeable Dave Turp is a big believer in Levis this year, and feels that the Houston, he quoted a number, Balky, which was somewhere out of the twilight zone, but I love it when Turk quotes numbers. He said there's 600 passes in the offense down at Tennessee this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bunch more than last year. I don't know if 600's on the table, but it's going to be a lot more than last year here. Edgar Sanders is picking at the 6'11 right now. He has 3 running backs on his team, a tight end and a quarterback. I'd like to think the pick is receiver here. It is. Rashee Rice is the 36th receiver.
Ooh, there's a buy.
6'11. So now, Remy, you have your pick of the litter of everybody that's left. You are on the clock at 6:12 and 7:01. Take us through. Let us know what you're thinking.
That was a good pick by him with Rashee Rice, just to let you know.
to go with Mahomes there too. He gets that Chiefs stack.
Yep, that was really good. Well, I am taking this.
Calvin Ridley is the first pick. Calvin Ridley, 6'12", wide receiver 37, the number 5 receiver drafted by Remy LeBeau. And then he hits the backfield, much to Ferrell's delight. DeAndre Swift at the 701, running back 23. Let's talk about Ridley first. You end up getting him here at the 6'12", a guy that, man, did the Titans give a boatload of money to. We know that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be shelved for the entirety of training camp, probably, maybe into the regular season. And Remy, I thought he was going to go higher tonight. He did it. And I know his ADP, this is right around where he goes. To me, that's a value right now.
It's extreme value, actually. Noonan, he has him extremely high, around between the 25 and 30th. So that was a steal for me in that. So I honestly thought he was going to go a little bit higher because of the news with DeAndre Hopkins, but apparently maybe people haven't heard about DeAndre Hopkins, or
I think they have.
I was surprised last night when we were doing a FFPC best ball tournament on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show. Theo Greminger and Dave Terpoli were drafting one. We thought Ridley was going to rise up a round and a half, 2 rounds. That didn't happen. And we thought Hopkins was going to fall, and that didn't happen either. So it was kind of weird. I think this is a serious thing, and obviously when you are starting the season, already hurt, that as we think Hopkins will be, or not necessarily hurt, but not all the way ready, missing all the training camp at that age. To me, that's a big detriment to your draft stock, and it should pump up Calvin Ridley. It didn't happen tonight, much to your delight. I'm sure Remedy gets Calvin Ridley at the 6'12", and then 701, first running back off the board is DeAndre Swift. There was a few running backs you could have gone with there. Why was Swift the pick?
Actually, because it is somebody that Nelson loves, and me and him talked about Swift quite a bit. So he was somebody that I was targeting to be able to get there in the 7th round. I figured that he would be. So my entire strategy evolved around DeAndre Swift or one of those other running backs like Zamir White falling.
And people named Swift are having a real good 2024. I've noticed that in popular culture. So I really liked what I saw from the Bears last night. I really like what they've done on the offensive line. What are your reasons that your compadre is whispering sweet information about Swift in your ear? Why does he like him so much?
Well, Swift's age. One, they're going to feed him the ball quite a bit. We know what he's able to do from Detroit. He got hurt a little bit, but then he went over to Philadelphia, and he's doing he did extremely well over there. That, and I believe, I forget which running back over there got hurt recently. One of the running backs behind Swift just got hurt.
I don't think a lot of people realize, that he carried the ball 220 something times last year. He's a durable player. He's a meaningful player. One of the things in watching that game last night is Chicago seems to have a lot of talent and a lot of depth at positions, including that offensive line. They dominated. I think that's a real good commentary for what we're going to see from that team. And the only thing that could be troubling is there's some from a fantasy perspective is there's guys last night that exhibited a whole lot of skills in the receiving and rushing game that based on what they did, they may get some usage as we move into this season. But yeah, I like your pick there.
The other team that we have not yet discussed tonight, or one of the teams I should say that we have not yet discussed in length tonight, just made a pick. Five straight receivers now for Tommy Herron and Jeff Antley here in the 6th spot tonight. Breece Hall and Trey McBride is how they started, Ferrell. But then Neighbors, Diggs, Godwin, McLaurin, Watson. I really, really love the way that the receivers have come together. And then when you couple that with the top running back and the 3rd tight end off the board, that's a dangerous squad from the 6th spot.
Neighbor's a high upside rookie, and I don't think the Giants separated him. If you're watching that HBO show in the front office, I don't think those Giants really separated him. They were happy to get him. Now that they've got to know him, they're very, very proud of their pick. And it might be just what that quarterback needs. And he could probably be the rookie that sees the most activity. I love everything they've done here. I'm not against the Diggs pick. I just would have picked someone else, namely Pittman.
Right. Yeah.
They've got 5. So you've got to start 2, right? You've got to start 2, and you've got 2 flexes. And, you know, it might be time for them to look at another position. But, you know, with Hall, they feel that that's going to be all they need, apparently.
Yeah. I think that now that Herron and Antley have all these receivers, I think that the plan has got to be attack running back, maybe add another tight end here too, with only 11 of them off the board here as we head through the middle of the 8th round too. But again, another team to watch for there. Jake Valike, going back to what he's done, and I know he was commenting in the YouTube chat, agreeing with us, saying, he's just letting the value come to him here tonight. He ends up getting Tank Dell, a player that could be the number 3 wide receiver in his own team. Normally goes at the 603, gets him at the 605, so that's very on brand tonight for Tank Dell. And then Anthony Richardson, normally at the 6'7", he gets him at the 7'8" tonight. Remy, does it seem like the quarterbacks are falling to you?
Yes. That's the one noticeable thing from last year is how far the quarterbacks have been falling.
Mm-hmm. And even in this draft tonight too. I mean, I look at it where Mahomes, late 4th round, Allen and Hurts in the mid 5th, Jackson doesn't go until the mid 6th, Richardson doesn't go until the end of towards the end of the 7th. So I think that's another, you're looking to try to get value at quarterbacks tonight. This might be a good draft to do it because it seems to be they seem to be slipping here in tonight's proceedings, Remy.
Yeah, what's funny is that I did a draft last week and got Patrick Mahomes in the 7th round.
Wow, that is nice. That's something you write home to mom about when you get that. Yeah. That is fantastic. Can you imagine? I mean, what was the latest he went anywhere last year, Remy? There was nowhere close to the 7th round.
3rd? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think he dropped out of the 3rd.
Yeah. Team 12 guys tonight. Ferrell, I'll throw this to you. Let's look at what they did from the back end. Chris Van Son, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, and Brandon Ayuk. So 3 high volume, high target receivers. And then he pounds the running backs. Rashad White, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris. He still gets Brock Bowers here as the tight end 11, the first pick of the 8th round. Ferrell, with all those running backs early, and I say early in quotation marks because he didn't take one until the 4th round, but then he pounded 4 of them in a row. That's got to be one of your favorite teams on the board tonight.
Yeah, it is. I love what they're doing. Don't mess it up, guys. There's some receivers. You need more receiver help. Go get them. I like what that team's doing.
That I always remember back in the day when I would be commissioning some of these drafts and somebody would get a start that nobody's seen before. Like, the 101 would get the top running back and then somehow like a top 2 tight end would fall to him and they'd still get like a top 6 receiver and everybody in the chat would be like, log in and multiple devices, make sure that you have a backup internet. Don't screw this draft up. You got to make sure that you carry this all the way to the end because this is something magical that's going on right now. Once again, we are covering the Fantasy Pros Championship live here tonight. This is one of the drafts. If you want to participate in one of these drafts, you can do so at myffpc.com and sign up for the Fantasy Pros Championship. In fact, I'm going to actually look it up right now to see what we got going on tonight. I know there's plenty of, we're at 9:39 Eastern time, so I know there's a 10 o'clock draft. I know there's an 11, and I know there's a midnight as of right now. I'm looking at to see what we're at for capacity if you want to hop in any one of these drafts. The 10 o'clock is full. The 11 o'clock is half full. And the midnight is actually almost half full already. So maybe we'll get a 12:30 a.m. draft tonight. You never know. But join that at myffpc.com. Take your shot at $1 million grand prize, $6 million prize pool. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, it is paying 1,000 places this year. So make sure that you are not missing out on that. A lot of running backs going in this round. We do finally see DeAndre Hopkins going off the board at the 8-10. Again, his ADP in the Fantasy Pros Championship is going to be weird right now because we can only look back the last 3 days. but 801 is where it normally is. He falls to the 810 tonight. He's fallen as late as 811, so good value for the Sky Nemesis squad at in the 3-hole tonight. Remy, you are now on the clock for 2 picks at the 812 and 901. 5 receivers, a tight end, and a running back is what you currently own. What are you adding to that?
Well, I'm looking to see if there's any value there left on the board.
There's all kinds of value.
There's value. I mean, it depends where you're looking too. You know,
You got to go 20 rounds, baby.
Yep. Let's see. Here.
Looking at the ADP, seeing if anything would get back to me. It's hard in this first spot.
Right.
Are you using that fantasy mojo?
Oh, yes, definitely.
We got 44 receivers off the board here, 13 tight ends, 32 running backs, and 6 quarterbacks. The first pick has been made. It's the former Raven turned current Charger. 33rd running back off the board is Gus Edwards at 812 tonight for Remy LeBeau, going to the backfield or joining DeAndre Swift in the backfield, I should say, for team 1 tonight. Remy, you're on the clock at the 901 now as well. And the gears
staring it down, Balky.
The gears are turning here. And here we go. It's another running back, and it's Jerome Ford. Running back 34 tonight. He is running back 3 for Remy. So, Remy LeBeau, you wait until round 7 to draft running backs, but you get Swift, Edwards, and Ford. How do you feel about the position now?
These are running backs that have upside, and they're the starters. So, I mean, it depends on how you're looking for it. If you're doing a punt RB like I did, you're looking for those values, and you're looking for values that have a lot of upside. Swift, you know, they're a great RB2. It just depends on what your thought process is and how you feel about it. You're not going to feel great about any of these running backs. I'm going to tell you that right now when you do this strategy.
I feel great about Swift.
Well, yeah, Swift, because he was able to drop. That's probably the only good one. But even then, you know, when you're doing this strategy and you're doing punt RB2, you're not going to like any of your running backs. You're just hoping that one of them takes off. And then you're just going to be looking for, sleepers, rookies, maybe that have come out of nowhere. And you're going to fill in the rest of your roster from there.
Well, I kind of like what you're doing at running back. Now, question, Balky, and I'm curious, Mojo, Darren Armani, is Singletary over Ford or no?
He is going earlier than he's going earlier than Ford. Singletary is on average 904. Where Ford is on average, I think 1002. Just real quick. I will say that Ford has gone as early. He's got kind of a variance. He's gone as early as the 804 within the last 3 days too with Ford.
Yeah, I think Singletary has remained a very, very good value, and I think he's going to camp out in that 9th round, and he's going to stay there. And anyone that picks him is going to get exactly what Brother LeBeau is asking for is value at the draft position. Can we roll back? Because I have a tight end question for you, Remy. When we did the pros versus Joes that mercifully came to an end last night, and everybody seemed to enjoy them, including me. And when we did them, there was a really packing of tight ends, and it resembles this, but I think it was even more density at the tight end position. But I'm curious based on what we saw. And you can't argue about any of these guys. But in your where you were, let's say that if you had access to these guys, or if they were still on the board when you came to the 2-3 turn, McBride over Kincaid, which one do you favor? Were you considering drafting either one of them if they had been there? And if so, which one would it have been?
Well, I'm probably going to give my hand away on this one, but I think McBride's probably going to end up in the top 3 tight ends this year. If you look
Which is how he's drafted tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't I've taken him number one tight end over Laporta and Kelsey and all that. And that's because if you look at Kyle Murray, if you look at his past seasons, he's always utilized the tight end extremely, basically like Mahomes uses
security blanket.
Kelsey. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Mahomes uses Kelsey, and Andrews is used. He uses McBride the same way. It's just one of those. And he fell in love with him last year, and it really showed. And I think that's going to continue to this year. And it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if he ended up being tight end number one this year.
I love that. And, then Mark Andrews is dropping, obviously, because he's going to be a support player to the aging and crippled Henry, the running back. But what do you foresee with Andrews? I don't necessarily see a drop-off in his performance, but I just see continued improvement with the other tight ends. Nothing against Andrews, but I really like those other guys. Again, here we are in the third round. That's big bargain. If you don't want to spend that second round capital, that's real big bargain on Andrews, I think. Do you agree?
I agree with you. I mean, nothing has changed over there. Yeah, they're going to use more two tight end sets with Likely. They know what they have with Likely, so they're going to end up doing that. But Mark Andrews is still his safety net. I mean, he hasn't gone anywhere unless he gets injured. I don't see really anything changing with that. So the third round value on him is still great. Last year he was going in the second. I'm not sure where he ended up after getting hurt, but I mean, he's in the same conversation with Kittle. I mean, if they stay healthy, they're going to end up in the top 7 of tight ends.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just how it is. Team number 8, he's just gobbling up all the players I love. I mean,
Jake Valike has now added Pat Fryermuth to the stable. He gets Javonte Williams right after that as running back 37 tonight at the 908, which slight values on both those players. Remy, when you look at Jake's team from the 8 spot, who are some of the players that you would have liked to have on your team? I mean, I know you like Cooper Kupp for sure. Who else?
Well, Josh Jacobs, he fell way too far. If I wasn't following this strategy, I would have took Josh Jacobs, hands down. If Tank Dell fell to where Ridley was, I would have took Dell. Anthony Richardson in the 7th spot. Yeah, he's played 4 games. He showed his talent. Getting him there in the 7th round, that's a deal. Fryermuth, Nelson had talked about him when he was on the show. I've drafted him. He's fallen way too far. That's another good one. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really bad you can say about his team and how he's constructed it. I really like it. Gibbs, carry on dropped way too far.
Yeah, he did. And I think that's the thing too. It's like you can have all this value drop to you, but it's you still got to build your team the right way. And I think because he's remained flexible this entire time, it's allowed him to build a pretty competitive team, maybe one of the stronger teams in the league too. Another guy, go ahead, Ferrell.
Well, you've drafted a lot of young players, but this is very unique after our pros versus Joes that you haven't drafted any rookie players. I'm curious when you're going to roll the ball out for those rookies because you're talking to so many pros, and oh man, the pros I know, or at least that Terps knows and he tells me about, those guys are in love with the rookies. You going to draft some rookies?
Yes, I'm going to be drafting rookies and second-year players here in the later rounds. There would have been a few if they fell, which would have been like Marvin Harrison, Neighbors. Those are the 2 top of off the top of my head.
Those not going to fall,
No.
The team in the 2nd spot tonight, Mr. E, that's Edgar Sanders, is on the clock right now. Right after that, Remy LeBeau will be up for 2 more picks as he is looking at 5 receivers, 3 running backs, and a tight end on his squad. Remy, I know you're on deck here and you don't want to give anything away to Mr. E. Well, now you don't have to worry about it because he just took J.K. Dobbins. Why don't you just talk these picks out loud and tell the viewers what you're thinking here at the 10-12 and the 11-01.
All right. Well, this is where I start. I'm going to double tap quarterback is what I'm going to do. The rule of thumb is after about 10 quarterbacks in this strategy have been taken off the board, unless the value has fallen, you're going to double tap quarterback. I think last time we did this, maybe 2 weeks ago, you probably seen me do the same thing. So now
it's just a matter of
everybody
which quarterback.
keeps overlooking. Everybody's overlooking him.
Brock Purdy at the 10-12. The final player drafted in the first half of tonight's draft, much as how he was the last player drafting in the NFL draft. Quarterback 13 for Remy LeBeau tonight, and a nice little stack for George Kittle and Brock Purdy here. What are you thinking with the 11-01?
I'm thinking about another stack, trying to figure out which one I want.
Oh, yeah. There are a few options here, aren't there?
Yeah, it's between Goff and Trevor Lawrence for me.
Okay.
Just go ahead and give it away. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to take another quarterback.
Okay.
Now you're giving
Henry
stuff away.
Muto, who's the safe and upside?
Well, yeah. Well, Henry Muto is pointing this out on YouTube right now. Jeff Ratcliffe preaches 1 safe quarterback, 1 upside quarterback after 10 to 12 quarterbacks are off the board. He's got Brock Purdy as one of them, and the other one will be Jared Goff. There it is. So Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brock Purdy and George Kittle here. A stack no matter which way you slice it. Purdy and Goff. Well, now I'll ask you this, Remy, because this is something that Dominic Guzzetti brought up in about Team 12, who went back-to-back quarterbacks as well, and Prescott and Jaden Daniels at the 9-10 turn. Says he's going to have a tough time on who to start a quarterback this week if Jaden Daniels lives up to it. How do you feel about deciding between Purdy and Goff every week? Is it a good problem to have, or is it going to drive you crazy?
Oh, it's going to be Goff gets to play in how many
indoors until like November or something? Yeah.
So his numbers are probably going to be great. Goff is considered the safe one. Brock Purdy is considered the high floor quarterback one. So that's why I went that route. To answer, who was it?
Dominic Guzzetti pointed, but he wasn't talking about your team. He was talking about Team 12. Who went Prescott Daniels back to back. So there you go. Let's see here. Who did I want to talk about? I think I was going to bring up that Prescott Daniels thing, but we don't have to do it anymore. The Khalil Shakir pick at 10:02 for Team Gritty, who is Robert Morelli. Khalil Shakir at the 10:02. Ferrell, I don't think you're a fan of this because I know how much you like Curtis Samuel. Normally goes at the 11:06, but Gritty's getting his guy there. Are you on board with Shakir, or are you a one-man wide receivers person when it comes to the Buffalo Bills?
Samuel's already gone, right, before that pick, yeah.
Curtis Samuel went at the 10:06. Shakir went at the 10:02.
I have no problems with Shakir. I love the athlete. Now, what has been passed around and talked about on this show is that, and I heard it from Kincaid today in an interview, and that offense everyone eats, and it's creating a wonderful camaraderie amongst this team. And I think that's good for football. It's good for fantasy football, except when you think you have a high-volume guy. So Stephon Diggs, good. He packed his bags and moved out of town. That's not the offense for him. The players here will be successful there. I don't there's probably players that I would have liked a little better than Shakir here, but I'm not going to argue the point because I do love the player. And the circumstance may play out that he gets just as many balls as everyone else does.
We should also mention that Keon Coleman went at the 9:09. So basically you had 3 Bills receivers going in the span of 10 picks of each other as well.
Now, and those guys would be fun to stack now.
Yeah, they would. They absolutely would. I want to bring in another guest tonight. He's drafting from the 6th spot tonight, along with Jeff Antley, a guy we've had on the program before a couple of times, actually. And we're bringing him back tonight from the Tommy Island franchise. Please welcome aboard Tommy Heron to the program. Tommy, how's it going tonight, man?
Balky, how you doing, my friend? This is a blast. This is my first one doing live, so this is a blast.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. So you're doing it with Jeff tonight?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Jeff's here in Locust, North Carolina, and we have it up on the 75-inch in front of us and enjoying this. So.
You never want to see my face that big, but okay.
Same here. I don't want to see my face or hear my voice.
You got a great. You're great with both of them. What are you talking?
You know what? As long as I can see you, my friend, then we're good to go.
Excellent to hear. Excellent to hear. So, Tommy, we are 11 rounds in to your squad. You said you're having a fun time. How does the team look? You must be pretty happy with it.
I'm pretty happy. It's actually played out probably not exactly like we planned, and in fact, it's been better than planned because we've gotten value, man. I mean, look, we just got Jordan Addison as our wide receiver 6, and there's no way to pass on him right there, regardless of how many beers he had before he drove, and all that. So we're good to go. This is it's played out well. We've gotten a lot of good value, and I'll be honest, the Diggs pick was, that was a coin flip. And look, Elliott, I'll tell you, we were back and forth, but I wasn't in on Pittman, so we both decided it's Diggs. So
that was the coin flip. It was Diggs or Pittman there, and you just ended up going with Diggs.
Or no, it was Pittman wasn't in the discussion, and it's not that I don't love him, but it was back and forth. We didn't love that pick, but it's a good value there, and it's going to hit. Right. And by the way, when you get C.J. Stroud 2 rounds later or 2 rounds after draft value, you get a little hook up there. So that worked out really well.
I think the interesting thing, too, when it comes to Addison is we already knew about this DUI well before the last 3 days. Over the last 3 days, the latest he has gone has been – I just had it up. ADP was 909. The latest he had gone was the 1011. You get him at the 1106 tonight. So I don't understand why he falls when – we kind of already knew about this, that it was going to happen. So Hall and McBride, I don't know if you felt like Breece Hall was going to make it there. I'm sure you thought you had an inkling that McBride might make it there. Was the plan to get an elite running back and an elite tight end and then pound these receivers after that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So where we thought would happen, it was going to be Chase. I mean, we thought it might end up being Chase because Bijan and Breece may be gone. But my friend Remy here taking Amon-Ra, which I love that pick and respect that pick, solidified the deal where we knew we were going to get one of our guys. So we got him. So going into it worked out well.
It did work out well for – I just love all the target volume that you have with those receivers and Neighbors and Diggs. And I love Godwin this year. McLaurin, I know, is on the come up with Daniels there. And then Christian Watson, another guy that I know a lot of high-stakes players are really valuing. When you guys look at what you did with those 5 rounds, going with the receiver each time, did another running back or another tight end ever factor into the conversation? Did you ever consider another?
Yeah. There were several times, and it ended up, a couple of times it was we were clipped, and then a couple of times it's just the value fell there. And when Godwin's still on the board, we're going to take Godwin. Terry McLaurin, he was too good of a value to pass up on. So, and then by the way, going after that, we got Chase. I mean, he was one of our guys, and we were going to get Chase, Chase Brown, and he, we were worried he's going to go right in front of us, and we were able to get him right there. So it worked out well. Waiting one more round because we were looking at going running back, obviously, where we got Christian Watson, but we leaned in and it worked out well. So,
why is Chase Brown one of your guys this year?
I mean, he's on the up, and I mean, I don't think there's any reason to think. Look, Zach Moss, I don't think. I mean, I know they signed him, they paid him, but Chase Brown's already looked really good early on, and he was there last year, and he contributed last year with Bro Mixon. So, I'm coming up on the clock. So
You're on the clock right now as the pick has been made before you. Cole Kmet goes off the board to Russell Cruz at the 12:06. Tommy Herron and Jeff Antley on the clock at 12:07. What are you guys thinking here for your next pick?
Yeah, so let me confide real quick in my partner.
Absolutely.
And Jeff, you see who I've got in there.
This is stunning.
Love this.
Tommy Island franchise with 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 3 running backs, and 6 receivers so far. So, I would say like you could go with another quarterback here, another tight end.
Yeah, I'm good.
Running backs here. Maybe not receiver, but I've been wrong before with 10 seconds on the clock.
We're not going receiver here.
Right.
Here we go. Have some fun here. It's very likely. Likely.
Likely off the board at the 12.
I mean, there's no way we're going to pass on the upside there, right?
So, and that's the thing is this is a player that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of standalone value, but if Andrews were to go down, might be kind of a free square, right?
He's a free square. I mean, when you've got, one of the top 2-3 tight ends already on the other side and got some flexibility, they're going to get likely on the field. They're going to get him on the field.
Tommy, I love your drafting strategy. I like what you're doing. You come in here like a superstar. Next time you ought to saddle up and try to be like Remy LeBeau. Drafting is fun, but it is also exhausting. And he's in here for all 20 rounds, and you come in and spread a little happiness and have some puns about likely that are absolutely as bad as some of mine are. So I love that. But your Southern accent. And this is not personal, but it could become that way if you don't show up. Your Southern accent needs to be imported to Kentucky for the KFFSC draft. And as of yet, this day, August what, Balky?
2nd.
August 2nd, which is only 21 days for when we will convene. I still have not received your registration. So
for the 23rd?
23rd, 4th, and 5th. We'll keep you all 3 days. And we'll ask you not to leave early on Monday.
Can we do so? So on the 25th, I have my main event. I'm in at number 77 with the 2 pick coming up. So
we'll work that out. That's why we have all 3 days, because we know you have a lot of interest in a full life. We're going to work on getting Remy there, and anything could happen. So we'd love.
I'm going to look into that. I was talking to Jeff. I said I should head up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy, it has been great talking to you. Thank you so much for making a pick on the air. Give my best to Jeff and keep crushing it from the 6 spot tonight, man.
Appreciate you, my brother. You take care. All you guys. Hey, good luck, Remy.
Thanks, bud.
Good
you
luck
too.
In second place, Remy.
Oh, hey, second place gets me there too.
There's the attitude.
Tommy Herron joining the program tonight, drafting out of the 6 spot with Jeff Antley, Tommy Island himself there. So in the meantime, when we were talking with Tommy, you made a couple of picks, Remy, and Kamani Vidal at the 12-12, Demario Douglas at the 13-01. Let's talk about the Vidal pick right away. Did the fact that you already had Gus Edwards on this team factor into that decision?
It did, but at the same time, I'm really high on Vidal. As we discussed earlier, there are some rookies that I like, and he's one of them. And, well, I just went and took my guy.
The second pick was Demario Douglas there, wide receiver 59 tonight at the 13-01. Man, when it comes to Patriots receivers, I don't have a clue. I seem to get it wrong every single year. I did get Kendrick Bourne off waivers early in the season. Was that last year or 2 years ago? And I was really excited, and he promptly tore his ACL. So I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on it. I'm not. Remy, what about Demario Douglas stands out to you as far as the Patriots go this year?
Well, I'm pretty sure you don't remember when I did this last year with you guys, but there were 4 people that I was targeting in later rounds that I wish I could get now.
Mm-hmm.
Tank Dell was one of them. Puka Nacua was the other one. Kerryon Williams was the other one. And your favorite, Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, yeah.
I was constantly getting them in the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th below rounds. Demario Douglas is the second it's going to be his second year. He shows flashes, the same flashes that Tyreek Hill showed.
Mhm.
And if you go ahead and look at his stats, and if they get everything going on over there, he's going to be the wide receiver one, in my opinion. He's going to be. And it's one of those flyers that, just like when I talked about Tank Dell last year, and nobody was drafting because they were worried about his size.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Demario Douglas. They didn't know about CJ Stroud last year. Well, they were worried about Tank Dell's size last year. Well, Demario Douglas, I have no problem with taking him in the 13th.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like you're potentially getting a number one wide receiver in the 13th round, so there's nothing wrong with that. It makes perfect sense as far as upside goes. I apologize to Dominic Gazzetti, who actually asked this question earlier, and I didn't get to it. But Remy, he said you said you'd taken Jacobs if you weren't following this strategy for this draft. Do you usually follow a certain strategy no matter how the draft goes? How do you apply that and still be flexible?
Well, the strategy that I'm working with is Jeff Ratcliffe's. And that question that he just asked is one that me and Jeff Ratcliffe have talked about immensely about, is once you start off on a strategy, you don't break from it. Because once you do, you're going to mess up your entire flow of everything that you're going for.
It's bedlam when you break off the strategy.
Yes.
Yes.
So once you start it, you have to complete it because it will throw your entire draft off. You might not think it does, but I have gone astray from the strategy, and it's thrown it totally off.
And
As
if
much
you
as-
go astray into single-digit rounds and realize it, what a miserable trip you're on. It really is. So
Yeah.
I'm proud of you for sticking with that. In this certain situation, I would have drafted Dotson in front of Douglas, but if Dotson was gone, I would have drafted Douglas. So I'm right there with you. And this is how your man Noonan rated these receivers?
Yeah, Noonan, he's rated these receivers. If you don't know who Noonan is,
No, I know because you've educated me, or you very much educated me. I don't listen to anybody but Balky though. But he had Douglas over Dotson, right?
yeah,
Thank you.
Ryan Noonan, by the way, on the X at Ryan Noonan. Of course, check out all of his stuff over at 4for4.com. Ferrell
Balky, you
Elliott.
better scroll up a little.
Oh, thank you, Ferrell. I appreciate that. I would have missed it. Here we go. All right. So
Look at it move.
if you look over for Team 12 for their pick in the 13th round, Stairway to 7, that is Chris Van Sun's team. Audric Estime at the 13-12. Now, Estime he's in an interesting situation. This is a little bit higher than he normally goes. Not that much higher, but a little bit higher. And I think it's interesting because that backfield, I mean, how many stories, Ferrell, have we been told about the Broncos backfield this year? Like 4, 5? Like Javonte Williams might get cut. Javonte Williams is the number one. Jaleel McLaughlin's the number one. Jaleel McLaughlin's just working on third downs. Audric Estime, they love him. He could be the starting running back. I can't keep it straight. I think, and this is the way, I think you attack it, and I'll get your thoughts, then I want to ask Remy about it. But when you talk about a backfield like the Broncos where it's not super expensive to acquire any of these guys, Javonte Williams, 908, Jaleel McLaughlin, 1107, Audric Estime, 1312. I think you just kind of pepper in a Broncos running back here or there just to see what happens. That's how I'll be handling it for sure this season. How would you suggest FFPC players handle it, Ferrell?
I love what has happened with Williams, and because that's keeping Williams down. I think Williams will be fine. Now, the other two backs, I really do like them. So if you want to get your stack of 2, not 3, but 2, it's a good strategy, I think, especially where you're starting with Williams in the 9th round. I think that the head coach loves having a little fun with the press. He did this in New Orleans, but they were a little bit used to it. Those guys down there were too sharp about this. I don't think our Denver press has learned that they may be being fed a gumbo of confusion from their head coach and his New Orleans ways. They're not used to the gumbo.
Gumbo of confusion is going to be one of my team names this year.
There you go.
Sure, no question. Remy, we'll get your thoughts on the Broncos backfield in a second. I would bring it up now, but you are about to be on the clock as Edgar Sanders is going to be making his pick shortly. 14-11 is Adam Thielen. Okay, so now you're on the clock at the 14-12 and the 15-01. Why don't you let the viewers into the mind of Remy LeBeau of what you're thinking here?
Well, this is where I don't go off of ADP and I don't follow any more tiers or listings or anything, rankings or anybody like that. This is where I start taking who I feel is going to make a difference.
This is all about the Remy LeBeau late round stashes, and who he likes and who. And I always say, or I don't always say it. Joe Del Zanero, Baker Boy, always says no such thing as a bad pick after the 10th round. This is where you take your shots. You take your shots on the injury away type running backs. You take your shots on the receivers that could turn into something. Younger receivers that maybe have the opportunity to crush it, maybe not in September, but later on. And then I see Xavier Legette, 14-12 is your pick. I know Ferrell likes that selection there. Wide receiver 70 off the board, and now you're on the clock at the 15-01. Two straight receivers for Remy LeBeau, Demario Douglas and Xavier Legette here, wide receiver 59 and wide receiver 70 respectively, I should say. And now another one here, Remy, Gabe Davis, wide receiver 71. Talk a little bit about these players. We'll start with Legette and the opportunity that he has in Carolina with Bryce Young this year.
Just like you said, opportunity. Opportunity is a must in the NFL, especially when you're a rookie. It's going to be Deontay Johnson over there. And who else do they have?
It's Mingo, it's Chenault. It's a lot of guys who either have not taken advantage of the opportunity or maybe never will. But Legette, we haven't seen yet, and I think that's what makes him intriguing.
Yeah, and then for the running game, you have Brooks, who will eventually come back, and then Chuba Hubbard over there. So that's going to be an unstable backfield for a while. They're going to want Bryce Young to develop more by throwing, and Xavier Legette fits that along with Deontay Johnson.
Gabe Davis is no longer a Buffalo Bill. He is a Jacksonville Jaguar, taking the place. I don't want to say taking the place, but he joins a Jaguars team that does not have Calvin Ridley this year. However, it does have Brian Thomas. What is the intrigue with Gabe Davis in a managed league like this? What makes him desirable here at the 15-01?
He has a very high ceiling when it comes to spike fantasy points. And if he stays healthy, and if this team ends up getting to the millionaire contest, those are the type of players that you're going to want.
I think that we're seeing a lot of younger players go off the board, and which, I mean, it shouldn't shock us at all. Look at the 14th round, Tyrone Tracy and Xavier Legette, who we just talked about, Bucky Irving, 3 rookies that are all going there. Ben Sinnott going in the 15th round. Remy, how have you handled Ben Sinnott this year? And again, FFPC is tight end premium scoring. He's a rookie on an up and coming offense. Have you grabbed many shares of Sinnott this year? How do you feel about him?
I have no problems with Sinnott. I don't know how he's going to fit in over there, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're going to utilize him or when was he picked? In the 3rd, 4th round?
I think 3rd.
Sinnott was a 3rd round pick.
He's a 3rd round pick. It's not last year's class of like Laporta and Kincaid going off. These rookie tight ends, they have a real hard. They're not able to go into the NFL right away, like most positions you're able to do. So that's one of the reasons why I'm fading him a little bit. He's a 3rd round tight end.
I actually misspoke. I'm sorry, guys. 53rd pick of the draft. He was a 2nd round pick this year. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought 3rd too, though.
Yeah, I don't know why it's weird how like that happens sometimes where I think of players drafted in like the back end of the second round. I think of them as third round picks. This happens with running backs with me every year. Wasn't James Cook a second round pick? I always thought of him as a third round pick. I don't know why. It just, but he wasn't, and that's what it is.
What round did Austin Eckler go in, Bobby?
Oh God, in this draft or in real life?
Real life.
I don't know. Was he a 6th round pick?
Yeah, he was undrafted.
He's undrafted.
Yeah.
Boy, we get so many things wrong, Ferrell. We get so many things wrong.
Well, no, that's not what it just. Imagine the talent that is out there. But Remy's right. Tight end can be tough unless they just decide that you don't have to block anybody. Tight end with Cole Kmet, our man out at San Francisco, Kittle, is much different than being Evan Ingram or even Kyle Pitts. And so, there's a player that I want to see what kind of routes he's running, where is he lining up. Watching the Commanders in preseason will be illuminating for us in many ways.
Ferrell, the other team that we touched on a little bit tonight, we haven't talked a ton about it, is John Terry's team from the 5 spot. And this is one of those things, I think I said it earlier in the broadcast, after the 5th round, I was like, well, he's got the elite tight end, he's got the elite quarterback and 3 receivers. How is he going to fill in his running back room? And he has. I mean, there's a lot of quantity there. Zamir White, Brian Robinson, Ty Chandler, Ray Davis, Tyler Algier, Tyrone Tracy. This is, again, not best ball. He's going to have to pick out 2 receivers every single week. Or 2 running backs every single week, 2 receivers as well, but we'll focus on the running back here. Thank you, Ferrell. But has he done enough here? I mean, I'm sure he's going to go back to the green stickers here again, but when you look at Chandler, Davis, Algier, Tracy, is that enough for you? And are those the types of players that you'd want on a team like this?
I don't like Chandler as much as everybody else does, but I like Davis even better. Allgaier does not disappear. And Tracy, I'm learning good things about him. But what he did is that John Terry, in long ball fashion, took a big cut and got Zamir White. And if he knew he was going to get Zamir White there, he's got to be very happy with the way this worked out. What was some of the things I've been reading about Brian Robinson, and my erstwhile playing partner, Trevor Holt, brought this to my attention. Robinson is carving out a pretty impressive role there, bigger than what we might think or what we might have thought was forthcoming for him. And so you get in the passing game with maybe 8 to 10 rushes a game for him. Now you've got something you can use. And Davis, here from the University of Kentucky and lots of other schools before he ended up here, Davis is a local favorite that we absolutely love. So, he took some lemons and made some lemonade out of it.
Yeah, I would say so.
Mix it with some mighty fine bourbon, and that's a whole other thing, though.
Ferrell, our good buddy Sean Green, who was drafted on the air numerous times with us already this season, is watching tonight. And he wants to know, is Eckler washed?
Oh, we don't use that word over here, sir, unless we're talking about my 2007 Jeep Grand Cherokee that I have. No, we don't use that expression, Sean. That is verboten, which is the only German word I know.
And does that mean? And obviously, it means that we're obviously not using that term. However, Ferrell,
yeah.
Would you be drafting him where he is going? Tonight he went at the 10:07.
All day long. I draft him in the 9th to make sure I get him. And if he just keeps falling and I can get him in the 10th, I'll patiently wait. His fool's situation to write off a player like Austin Eckler.
Remy, it is coming up on you. You are on deck right now. We look at the color in the 16th round. My goodness. We've had 4 defenses. We've had a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of tight ends, a receiver, a running back, and now it is back to you for the 16-12, Remy.
Well, I'm going to take another tight end. I'm just trying to decide which one I want.
George Kittle was taken by Remy LeBeau at the 4-12. No tight end since then. Looking for a backup here, which would be, 12 rounds later. 25 of them have been chosen. There are still some good ones out there. We'll see what happens here with Remy on the clock.
Roll up,
30
please,
seconds.
Mr. Balky.
Thank you, Ferrell. I appreciate it.
We want to see both picks.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he
There we
did fall, so I'm going to go ahead and take him.
So you have Chigoziem Okonkwo
There you go, buddy.
from Tennessee. There you go. The suddenly aerial attack featuring Titans this year. Chiga Okonkwo is the pick here for Remy LeBeau at tight end 26. Okonkwo in the again, if we look at the mojo on him, he's normally an early 15th round pick. Remy gets him at the end of the 16th tonight as tight end 26. You are on the clock one more time here, Remy.
And I'm going to take the player, and the reason why I didn't take Devin Singletary.
Eric Gray, another Giants running back here. The third Giants running back taken off the board. Singletary went at the 903, Tyrone Tracy at the 1408, and now at the 1701, Remy LeBeau goes with Eric Gray. Tell us a little bit about, because you said this is the reason you didn't take Singletary. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about Eric Gray this year.
Eric Gray is going to end up being the starting running back over there. Wow. Singletary, I mean, he was with Chicago, and then he went over to Houston. He hasn't done anything. He's just not a RB1. Eric Gray has the opportunity to step in and be an RB1. Barring injury, of course, but right. I see him taking over that role and running with it, literally.
Literally, exactly, yes. Deneric Prince off the board right after that to Edgar Sanders as we move into the 17th round of this live coverage of the Fantasy Pros Championship draft tonight. Again, all 12 of these guys going for $1 million grand prize, $6 million prize pool, 1,000 players will be paid out. I want to bring up a report from Vegas Sports Today that came out a couple of hours ago, and it's regarding Tommy Herron and Jeff Antley's 16th round pick in Dylan Lobby. Antonio Pierce said, or he was praising, I should say, Lobbies. These are hot button things. When I hear it, I'm like, oh, this is good. Got to make a note of this. He was praising his blitz pickups, his pass catching talents, and his consistency in practice. Ferrell, he didn't mention him being on the practice field, like availability, the best ability, but he said consistency and blitz pickups. We already knew he could catch passes. Like that was never a thing. But Lobby in the 16th round, after his coach goes out of his way to talk about him, I'm starting to like him quite a bit.
I think you should. They've liked him since the moment they drafted him. They picture a good role in for him. And the more they talk about the things he can do on the offensive side of the ball, the less likely we are to see him returning kicks. And in this offense, protecting those quarterbacks when they're blitzed, because neither of them are particularly mobile, is a very, very good quality. And I want to roll back one of the original 26ers, Brett Studebaker comments on Hopkins, the loss of Hopkins and what that does for the tight end. And this is some of the things that we talked about. And Remy, you've probably seen this too in drafting, but this was a player that really looks great in the uniform and you love the athlete. And now Tennessee is installing a passing attack. And this player was moving up the boards last year, Balky. I don't know if you recall where it was, but I thought he was 9-10 in drafts. And now all these things, including the Hopkins situation, are making – he's going to be part of it. And to be successful, he's going to have to catch passes. So to me, it's somewhat amazing that this player is still available for you at that draft pick, and I commend you for picking him.
Ferrell, Chiga Okonkwo, the last 2 days of the Fantasy Pros Championship, which would have been Saturday and then Sunday morning of week one, he ended up ADP 1105. However, he was going as high as the 902 those last couple of days. He was drafted last year as tight end 16. You say, Balky, how do you rattle that off? FantasyMojo.com. Not only has current ADPs, he has previous years ADPs as well. which is fantastic. Especially it comes in handy on this show where we bring up like, hey, where was that guy going last year? And we can find out, which is great. Remy, you are we'll call you Remy Damas because you were right in that you did not get Will Levis tonight. He ends up going to Jake Valike. Who else? Gets Will Levis as quarterback 23 tonight to pair with Anthony Richardson on that squad. But I do want to get your thoughts. We've been talking about Ben Sinnott. Remy, let's talk about what the gruesome twosome trolls have done from the 4-hole tonight. Did not take a tight end until the 9th round. They get Hawkinson, who is obviously hurt right now. Did they do enough? Sinnott, Gesicki, and Hurst, back-to-back tight ends, rounds 15 through 17. What do you make of that execution from acquiring tight ends, on that squad from team number 4 tonight?
I think that he panicked because maybe he just realized that TJ Hawkinson's hurt and is not going to be starting the year. So he had to make up for it, and he realized that Ben Sinnott is a rookie. So now the Mike Gesicki pick was a good pick. I really like that pick.
Yep.
I think it makes up for that. But I think if this drafter could have went back in time, he would have used that 9th round pick on somebody else, and then went ahead and did a true punt tight end and then stacked them up.
It's and Ferrell, what do you make of that squad too? Because he pounded the receivers rounds 3 through 7, but he started off with a base of Bijan Robinson and Travis Etienne. So 2 strong running backs to kick it off, and then you get all those receivers. It was at the expense of tight end. So I think the way to look at this, or at least the way I'm looking at it, is he understands Hawkinson's not going to be available right away. Maybe he's just trying to patch it together with Sinnott, Gesicki, and Hurst, and then once Hawkinson is healthy, that's in November or whatever, he can start parting ways with some of these tight ends. I don't know if that's if that's the line of thinking as the draft developed. That would be the story I'm telling myself. But Ferrell, what do you make of this squad?
2 of those 3 guys will rise to the top, and we're dealing with very sophisticated drafters. This drafter probably has evaluated the Hawkinson situation, is willing to live with the risk, and thinks that he might get back a little sooner than expected. And he is an elite ball catcher at the tight end position. So I like the Hawkinson thing. If Remy's situation plays out, what you think might happen, and he might not be available until later, I'm really hoping that in the 12-team leagues I'm in, that someone will grow impatient and draft him, because that would be a big swing for me in free agency. What do I think about this strategy? I believe that drafts are won in these double-digit rounds. For instance, last year, I'll mention him again, Trevor Holt. That's where we ended up with running back Williams and receiver Nakua. And that made naturally all the difference. So I would rather spend one bigger pick than have to end up with 4 tight ends and spend most of the latter part, when I see that there's high ceiling potential guys, having to use this tight end. I don't think anyone gets particularly excited about drafting Gesicki and Hurst. I like the Sinnott pick here. But you know what? All those guys could turn out. And boy, how much I would have been thrilled if they had turned around and drafted Zach Ertz just for fun, right, which might be the guy that I had put with Sinnott. But, that's just me.
That is just you. There's a couple of players that have gone off the board here. One in the 15th round, one in the 17th round that I think deserve to talk about. And we'll do that shortly. But what I want to do before we get to that is we'll talk with talk about Remy LeBeau's his 18th round and his 19th round pick, which are coming up as soon as Mr. E, that's Edgar Sanders, who's drafting from the 2-hole, as soon as he makes his selection here, which he just did of Kaimi Fairbairn. Remy, you have 2 picks left, or you have 3 picks left. It looks like you need a kicker and a defense. So one quote unquote fun pick here, and then one maybe not so fun. What are you thinking?
I'm just going to I usually wait till the 1920 to take the kicker and defense, but in this case, I'm just going to take a kicker and a defense and then figure out who I want for my last player coming up.
So it is 30 seconds on the clock. We know he's going kicker. We know he's going defense here. The question is, which ones will they be? 5 kickers off the board, and there are 8 defenses off the board. And it is going to be Jake Ferrell Elliott as the kicker at 18-12. I don't know what his middle name is. Could be Ferrell. And then the Chiefs defense here as the 9th defense off the board. I don't know how much analysis we want to get into here. I guess we can ask about the Chiefs defense. What stood out to you about them here, Remy?
They were the highest on the board.
There you go. Sometimes it's as simple as that, people. Highest on the board, you make the call in the 19th round.
For me, for kickers and defenses, I'm streaming them. So
I usually do that as well. I think there's not. I mean, it's sometimes it's difficult to stream kickers. I've had some good luck with streaming kickers over the years, Remy.
I'm the worst at picking a kicker. Every time I pick a kicker,
why didn't you tell us that before you picked? Damn it, we would have helped you out. I would have jumped in there. You're sitting right here. You've been going into you giving the Noonan guy all the praise. We're in the night. We would have loved to have jumped in here. You know, Remy. One of the things I like to do is stack my kicker with the quarterback or other offensive players that I have on the team. I was thinking you were going to pull the trigger on Moody. Every time I think you're going to pull the trigger on a guy, you go the other guy, and then he's the next guy. But who knows? It's flipping a coin with some of these kickers.
The middle name of Jake Elliott is Daniel, just in case anybody was wondering. The Johnny L is in the YouTube chat right now. He says, no mention of the other LeBeau team tonight. And you know what? We have not mentioned the other LeBeau team tonight. So let's talk about it from the 10-hole. Jonathan LeBeau here. Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Kendre Miller, and Tank Bigsby are the running backs on this team. Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Lockett, Jacoby Myers, Malachi Corley, and Tyler Boyd at receiver. Tight ends are Travis Kelce and Kate Otten, and the quarterbacks are Joe Burrow, Caleb Williams. Farrell, with the exception of Caleb Williams, with the exception of Malachi Corley, and with the exception of, Kendra Miller, I guess, this is kind of like, I don't want to say the quote-unquote old team, but there are a lot of veterans. This is a veteran-laden team here from the 10-hole.
Yeah, and, we're drafting the players that we're familiar with that are falling to our manager here. And he's certainly gone youthful at the quarterback. I love the way he's put up Malachi Corley up the board. This is a good team. I'm not necessarily a Tyler Boyd fan. I probably would have gone younger there, but I see what he's doing in respect to the injury situation. There's no argument that this team can't compete. And, there's a lot of guys. Keenan Allen's got he's got a change of scenery. Cortland Sutton's got a change of attitude. Ezekiel Elliott is back home. Jacoby Myers has found his home. So even though these guys are veterans, all of them are dealing with something that's new to them in their career. And that can be rejuvenating in a career.
Remy, Justin Herbert, we found out is dealing with plantar fasciitis or plantar fascia, whatever it is. I'm not a doctor. Didn't even say
you aren't?
No, and I did not stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night either. But Justin Herbert goes at the 1506 tonight. Now, if we look at the mojo on him, Herbert over the last 3 days has gone as high as the 906. His ADP settled in at the 1312. He's also fallen to the 1611. How seriously concerned are you not only with Justin Herbert this year, but the Chargers passing attack in general? And I know I'm asking somebody who invested into 2 of their running backs tonight.
Well, as we all know, I'm from Michigan, so I'm very
Team Harbaugh, baby.
Yep. So I know a lot about how he runs the system over there and how he ran it in San Francisco. He loves running the ball. That's just how he does it. And with Justin Herbert being hurt now, they're just going to run the ball even more. So it really comes down. I like Justin Herbert, but the past few years he hasn't lived up to expectations. And he's going around even before he got hurt, he was going around this. I think I got him for a second quarterback in the 18th round. So it's not like somebody that he's very high on. So yeah.
So Remy, I mean, would you go out of your way to like stay away from Joshua Palmer, Ladd McConkey, like players like that who would be catching passes from Herbert?
No, somebody's going to have to catch the passes.
Okay.
It's who do you feel more confident with? Now, if Justin Herbert isn't available and he doesn't start, do we see it a little bit more Quentin Johnson, because he doesn't really mesh well with Quentin Johnson, it seems like, and he's on the outs right now. So maybe if Herbert isn't staying in, Quentin Johnson's stock goes up. Or it could be one of these other two wide receivers.
Right.
It could be very well. What's probably going to happen is the tight ends. The tight ends are probably going to flourish a lot in this system. They're probably going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, and they're going to run the ball. And that's probably what it's going to go with like. And they're going to, take their shots downfield, whoever's, out there.
Balky, no one has picked my favorite Raider, and I'm getting angry.
I don't know if it's going to happen. It might just come down to Remy LeBeau here at the 2012, but I don't.
Maybe he's the last hope. Remy LeBeau.
By the way, Sky Nemesis from the 3 spot tonight, that is Joseph Gilliam. He ends up taking Zach Ertz, as the gruesome twosome trolls had one last chance to pair Ertz with Sinnott. They chose not to. So Gilliam takes him. Trey Sermon's off the board at the 2011. Remy, you have the only pick remaining of this draft.
Who do you want me to take there, Ferrell? you tell me who to take, and I'll
There
take
is
him.
a Raider receiver, but decorum permits me, does not allow me to
Gotcha.
to tell you who it is. But I bet you he's
Really?
on Mr. Gentleman's list.
He is on Mojo. Let me just look it up. I do not see him being drafted over the last 3 days.
That's right.
So
That's why we call him a sleeper.
This
And you
is
know
a
who's sleeping on the KFFSC? Oh, Scott Riger, our old boy here. And he's asking for pros versus Joes. He's got 12 months.
Yep.
He's only got 2 weeks.
Are you talking about a rookie?
No, sir.
No, not a rookie. Not a rookie.
Not a rookie.
Oh, you got him. You got him. There he is, right there, Ferrell.
Congratulations, sir.
God bless Remy LeBeau, making Ferrell Elliott happy with his final pick tonight. Trey Tucker, one of the potential standout receivers for the 2024 Las Vegas Raiders, and Remy gets him as wide receiver 87 tonight, and that is a wrap. So I'll scroll up on the board here so we can kind of talk about the front end of these squads. But Remy, you look at your squad from the 1 spot tonight. I know you were executing a certain strategy when it comes to receivers and when it comes to quarterbacks. How well do you feel like you executed it, and how do you feel about this team?
Well, the team execution is exactly how I wanted it. Pick 7 and all the way down is pretty much what I've already been doing in the other drafts. Utilizing this new wide receiver tier was the only difference. So I honestly do not know how I feel about it yet, but at the same time, taking myself out and going with a different set of rankings for wide receivers is going to give me a little bit of a different feel for the team, which is what I was going for.
And that makes perfect sense too. I'm sorry, keep going.
Like in the 3rd spot, in the 2nd, I would have picked Olave. 3rd spot, I would have probably picked Kupp if it was the other way.
And didn't you say you would have taken Jacobs at the 501 too?
Yeah. Jacobs would have been another one that I would have took if I wasn't using this strategy. I would have probably the 3rd spot, like I said, it would have been Kupp or Kerryon Williams. Kerryon Williams fell. I mean, Lord have mercy, did he fall?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
Wow. And, Jacobs fell as well. A lot of players did fall, and I have to give credit to Team 8. I mean, they capitalized and everything. And that's usually where I'm drafting, is between 6 and 8, usually.
Mm-hmm.
and you're just eating up all the gifts that people are giving you.
Yeah.
And he did a great job with that. So
Jake
hats off to him.
Jake Valek, the 26er, spree at last, got a lot of love tonight, and he's getting some more love from Remy LeBeau. We give you a lot of love tonight, Remy. Congratulations on a very well-executed strategy, a solid draft, and a team that, who knows, maybe this will be the $1 million team come January when we're awarding the big check. It could be you. Thank you so much for bringing us through your mind tonight as we got to, kind of draft with you and figure out why you were doing what you were doing. You explained it very well. Insight was very helpful as well. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you. It was always a pleasure.
I'll bring Ferrell back so he can say goodbye as well to
Good
Remy.
night, Remy. Great job. And go take a deep breath and maybe mix you a little bourbon and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks, Remy.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, Ferrell. I caught your, I think you were on with FTN and you were talking for about 10 minutes. There was one thing.
They let me talk for 10 minutes, which is a dangerous precedent for those guys to do. You're talking about James Adams and Dan Klaskins.
Yes.
Yes.
So one of the three things that you said was going to happen in the draft that didn't happen. Do you know what it was?
Oh, buddy, I don't even remember what I had for lunch earlier today. What did I say that did not happen?
You said one, you didn't think anybody was going to draft Matthew Stafford. So Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
And
there's no team named Hawk Tua.
There it is. There's no team named Hawk Tua.
And you know what? I'm betting that at least one of them will be present in every draft. A shutout for Stafford and some clown naming his team Hawk Tua.
Right.
Yep.
That didn't happen tonight. I guess it won't happen in every draft, but it'll happen in a lot of them. Remy LeBeau, the 8-time FFPC league champion tonight. Did he add another league championship tonight? We'll find out in January. Thank you, Remy. Be good. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That is Remy LeBeau, ladies and gentlemen, popping aboard, drafting his team tonight in the Fantasy Pros Championship. Once again, these 12 teams will be competing for a $1 million grand prize in a $6 million prize pool, 1,000 teams getting paid out. Also important to understand that while we encourage you to draft in the FFPC, we also want to encourage you to check out the Fantasy Pros the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship that is going on live in Cincinnati in a couple weeks, live in Louisville in a few weeks, and of course online. Register now, KFFSC.com. That is Ferrell's baby. And I have a blast doing it every single year. You will too, for sure. That will wrap up tonight's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Remy LeBeau. I want to thank Tommy Herron for popping on as well. I also want to thank Ferrell Elliott, the FFPC, our producer and mutual friend, Rob, our audio engineer, my best friend, Bryce, and of course, all of you viewers, listeners, streamers, downloaders. Big week next week, massive week. So Sunday night, we got live main event coverage with Aiden LaCorey and Dave Tripoli on the call. That's Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll have live Fantasy Pros draft coverage. Aiden LaCorey, Dave Tripoli, and special guest analyst, Establish the Runs, Justin Herzig will be on that broadcast as well. Again, that starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. Ferrell, you don't even know about this yet, but I'll bring you on to tell you about it. Next Friday, we'll be going on at our normal time. However, I will be remote. We're going to be broadcasting live from Cocoon Brewing Company in glorious De Pere, Wisconsin, in the throes of Lambeau Field, the shadows of Lambeau Field. Our co-host who will join us for the full hour next week is Matt Walters, one of 4 guys who won the $500,000 FFPC World Famous Playoff Challenge a couple of years ago. And now he owns his own brewery, and we're going to talk with him, talk fantasy with him next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be live in De Pere next week. You will be live in Louisville, obviously. So that's going to be a blast, man.
Yeah, I'm going to be sitting here with this Chinese guy riding his horse behind me. Well, you guys are out having all the great fun. And Balky, I appreciate the great words that you're giving for the KFFSC. And you know, these very self-serving appeals to the players will soon end. I look forward to joining everyone in Planet Hollywood, the biggest weekend in the greatest league of the FFPC. But as a warm-up for that, if you would like to consider coming to play here live, we've got a number of guys that were in the draft tonight that will be playing. And we're going to get this Tommy Island guy there because we got to have Tommy Island. And it's we have a wonderful time, and it's we're down to that period where there's just a small group of slots left,
Mhm.
and it's always fun to get some new people in a room, and we sure you'll have a good experience. And man, it's August, Balkman. It's my favorite time of the year.
That's exciting. It's a fun time. It's a busy time, but it's a fun time. KFFSC.com. Blow off some steam with some Kentucky drafts this year. Ferrell, thank you so much, man. We'll talk with you next week.
See you, brother.
That is Ferrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. So once again, live broadcast Sunday night, live main event coverage Tuesday night, live Fantasy Pros Championship draft coverage with Justin Herzeg on that broadcast. I'll be watching as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. The 2024 Fantasy Pros Championship has drafts filling daily. Make sure you're checking that out. I'm looking at it right now. We got 15 minutes to go before the 11 o'clock draft. 2 teams still available. You still have time to join that. And we're a little over an hour away from the midnight draft that is just missing 5 teams. These are going to fill. It's August. They always fill at this time. So make sure you're registering for that. MyFFPC.com. Compete for $1 million, which you can do in the main event as well. Again, live and slow drafts going for both our Fantasy Pro Championship and the main event. And, of course, our Superflex Best Ball Tournament and our Classic Best Ball Tournament going on. Those are filling up live and slows each and every day. And if you still want to get into some Dynasty stuff, do it. We got plenty of options available there, both with our Classic Dynasty startups and our Empire Dynasty startups as well. KFFSC.com is where to go for Kentucky. MyFFPC.com is where to go for everything else. Your downloads, streaming, viewership certainly was very much appreciated tonight. Remember to like the video, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, hit the notification bell so you always know when we'll be going live next, which will be Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Thanks for watching, everybody. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
One other thing I forgot to mention, and I can't remember if I teased this on a previous show, the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown will be coming back. It was going to come back this coming Tuesday, but we're going to have live draft coverage on the channel instead. So instead of August 9th, it's going to be August 16th, and 2019 FFPC main event, $500,000 winner Mike Pareca will be my guest on that. So going to be a good one. We're going to grill him hard and find out who he likes for 2024 and see if he's going to cash the $1 million this year as well. So that'll be not this coming Tuesday the 9th. It'll be the following Tuesday at the 16th. Be good, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you Sunday night.